All right, the violent gang MS-13 unleashing new havoc. Yes, this time in Houston. Police say they arrested one of its members after he kidnapped a 14-year-old girl. And the suspect led them on a high-speed chase across an interstate. And this all happened yesterday, went on for 30 miles. And it didn't end until the suspect, Leuven Smith-Reyes Sanchez, ran out of gas and surrendered. Police say the kidnapped victim was not in the car during the chase and is okay. Well, critics claim that the Trump administration is targeting MS-13 to demonize immigrants for, importing crime. Statistics, though, do not lie. Here's what the New York Times says. There are now 10,000 MS-13 gang members in the United States. And new reporting by the Washington Post over the weekend reveals how MS-13 is essentially taking over one high school in Suffolk County, New York. Police say the gang has committed 27 murders in the area, all since the wave of unaccompanied illegal immigrant minors began arriving in 2013. Joining us now, a man who's on the front lines of the fight against MS-13, Jay Lanham. He's been great on radio, too, as a director of the Northern Virginia Regional Gang Task Force. Jay, the Washington Post is finally really onto this, I think. They're reporting on what's happened in Long Island, which is stunning. A parent of a young woman who was murdered by MS-13 2 years ago came on our show recently. This is what she said.
I'm feeling the loss of my daughter. I feel it every day. There's not a day, a second, that I don't think about my daughter. And they just don't understand the pain of a parent losing their child to this gang violence.
And that was the mom, Evelyn Rodriguez, who was at the State of the Union with the president. Tell us the real situation as you see it in Northern Virginia, communities where you operate in. These were middle class, fairly safe communities when I moved here in 1986. It's a different world now.
Absolutely, and the influx of these gang members, especially MS-13, into the Northern Virginia area has just overwhelmed the resources in the area. The violent crime has just been unheard of, unlike what anyone would expect to ever see. They commit their violence with machetes, which you can just imagine.
Machetes?
That's their favorite weapon of choice. And you can just imagine the brutality that exposes to the body.
And when you see the results of this open borders, allowing these unaccompanied minors into the United States, we have 5,000 just in the New York area. There are 5,000 unaccompanied minors. As you pointed out before, I think they're prime targets for MS-13 recruited, are they not?
Absolutely, and we've seen that over the last 2 to 3 years in the amount of violent crime being committed by juveniles, which we didn't used to see. So there have been so many of these kids that have come into the community. They're scared to death. They're put into school. Some of them don't even read and write their own language.
In their own language, thank you.
And these gang members know this. They prey upon them. They exploit the weaknesses, the lack of a family structure, relationship issues. They exploit all of it.
Do you know only 4% of the unaccompanied minors who've come into the United States during that Obama wave, only 4% have been deported? And when this first happened, you remember what Barack Obama said? You're not going to be able to stay here. That was his original comment, but everybody stayed here. So we have thousands upon thousands of previously unaccompanied minors kind of rolling around the United States, some with sponsors, some not, and not all of them are gang members, obviously. But let me show you what is happening in Texas, where we had this high-speed chase. The Texas Public Safety Commission has listed the most lethal gangs in Texas, and this is last July, the report that came out. Here they are. Tango Blast, it's another gang, predominantly Latino gang. The Latin Kings has been around for years. Texas Mexican Mafia, another horrific gang. And MS-13. Okay, MS-13 is number 4. Deadly because of the cartel membership and the cartel connection to these gangs. Tell us why that drives the violence.
Well, MS-13 started because they were protecting themselves from the Mexican Mafia. Now we're finding they tend to work with the Mexican Mafia because the cartels are pushing the drugs across the border, including the heroin and the fentanyl, and they're working together, Mexican Mafia, MS-13, and even outlaw motorcycle gangs to distribute these drugs throughout the United States.
So drugs are a huge part of this. How big is human trafficking in MS-13?
It's large, it's difficult to prosecute, and what's unfortunate is most of these girls involved are brainwashed and they don't see themselves as victims. And it's a hard case to prosecute and to investigate because of that reason.
And how do the police, who many times are understaffed, overworked, underpaid, and they're going up against one of the most brutal gangs in the world, not just in the world?
It's difficult.
So ridiculous that this has happened to these beautiful parts of the United States. Suffolk County, bedroom community in New York, Northern Virginia, Gaithersburg, Maryland. I mean, these are like middle-class, safe communities.
And it's a fact. MS-13 is the fastest growing gang in the United States, and the propensity for violence is very high.
And by the way, President Trump specifically called them out over the weekend when he did that rally in Pennsylvania. I'm glad he did, keeping that issue front and center. Jay, thank you so much. And keep up the great work. And up next, a Washington Post columnist, check this out, advocates aborting children with Down syndrome, and the Vatican is misrepresenting a letter from Pope Benedict to the media. What's happening there? We're going to explain it all in our Seen and Unseen segment with Raymond Arroyo. Stay there.